Hello, welcome back to my channel. It's a blowy and rainy and very grey Tuesday. I've got coffee and I've got pain au chocolat somewhere here, and Socks has raced out, having sat on my lap as I wrote this morning. I've done 1,200 words, so I'm happy. And there's quite a lot of stuff more to do today. But because I've not updated and done a video for a couple of days, I thought I would talk about Doctor Strange, which I finished last night. James Lovegrove's novel from Titan Books this year, which adapts a whole load of stories, classic stories from Marvel Comics in the 1960s. I think it was Tales of the Unknown was the actual comic that Doctor Strange started off in. It should say somewhere. Something like that, anyway. And this takes lots of the early issues and novelises them in the kind of James Blish, Terrance Dicks way. And it's really enjoyable. I think it's... No, Strange Tales was what he first appeared in back in the day. I think it's too long by about a third, because we stay at this kind of comic strippy level. We are looking in on these adventures from the same distance that we look at comic strips. Now that sounds silly, but I know what I mean. When you read a comic that's full of weird phantasmagorical landscapes and comic strip violence and mystical battles, you're looking from the outside. It's all spectacle, like in these wonderful Steve Ditko panels. There's a word for it in filmmaking, I forget, but you know, you're either in close-up or you're in mid-shots, and it's like this. But there's always these little frames around them, even when it goes really phantasmagorical. And these are the actual stories. Hello, come on. These are the actual stories he adapts. When you get splash panels, big panels like that. But you're still on the outside looking in with comics, as you are with films. It's a kind of... yeah, it's all about spectacle. Now with novels, of course it's different. You're inside people's heads. You're inside people's histories. It's richer and more complex. And what a novelisation like this tries to do is keep us moving onwards through all the tumultuous, exciting events, and not sink for too long into the thoughts of Doctor Strange or his mentor figure or his various friends and helpers and enemies. And what I really want is for it to be a novel, is to become richer and deeper than that. And maybe that's looking for the wrong thing, because in the end it's a comic strippy kind of book. But it seems like a wasted opportunity in some ways, not to be able to go deeper and do something different. But you know, it's writing for it's created for the market, isn't it? What do Doctor Strange and Marvel fans want? And what they probably want is something that reflects the original comic strips really faithfully. And this does that. Although I think there's a certain kind of comedy to this that is partially there in the original comics, certainly when it comes to Spider-Man's guest appearance and his wisecracking, but there's a certain kind of archness to the tone when it comes to Doctor Strange himself, which I really liked. And it's very British, actually. Chapter 6 begins like this, for example. In the weeks that followed, Strange fought off an invasion of the body-possessing ethereal beings in a remote Bavarian village, rescued a pair of crooks who had fallen foul of a magical gem, been sucked into the sinister purple dimension, and ended up as slaves of its tyrannical ruler, Agamon. and saved a team of TV ghost hunters from a supposedly haunted house in Poughkeepsie, I think that's how you say it, which turned out to be an entity from some far-flung corner of the space-time continuum that had come to Earth and adopted the form of a Dutch colonial cottage in order to study the human race. More often than not, it was the orb of Agamotto that alerted him to supernatural threats like this. The scrying sphere was a reliable tool of divination, and he could count on it to identify where a danger was arising and assess the severity. The orb was not, however, infallible, for there were methods evildoers could use to shield themselves against observation by it. One evening, close to midnight, Strange consulted the orb. He had been filled with a sense of apprehension all evening, but the sphere's lambent depths revealed no source for this feeling. All seemed right with the world, for once. Then his phone rang. So there's a kind of, it is almost camp sensibility at work, that meshing of the grandiose and the occult with the banal and everyday. Come on. That I really enjoyed. I think that was very funny. Less successful, I think, are the bits of concrete poetry. When it comes to the visiting other dimensions, when things go crazy, the book breaks up into patches of just odd drifting words on the page. They get bigger and bigger at one point as eternity comes closer. That seems weird to me to do. Not because, I'm against concrete poetry or, people doing graphic things on the page. It's just that why do graphic things on the page when this is a novel that adapts a graphic source? That seems like why not just have the comic? My favourite bits were probably early on when the villains were easily dispatched. Oh. Although it's good later on when you get more of Dormammu, the big villain with a blazing, flaming head in his strange, otherworldly dimension. And the villains start stacking up and ranging themselves against Doctor Strange en masse. It's less, it's more consequential than it is in the comics. When you read lots of the comics, like in this volume, one after the next, it feels like lots of the same thing again and again. What he's cleverly done is made it feel cumulative. So each defeat by Dormammu or Nightmare or the other horrible fella with the awful hair are adding up towards something. And when he skips over stories, like in that little bit that I read there, oh, this, and this happened as well. They're the ones he doesn't necessarily want to adapt. And he uses those to good effect, I think, by listing them. Oh, and other adventures that Strange had consisted of these strange things. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. I think a bit shorter would have been all right. I like the way he comes at the end to realise that he's going to be a superhero and have a place in the world alongside all the other Marvel superheroes that get mentioned or, guest star, like Spider-Man at that point. Spider-Man's in it very briefly, but Lovegrove has Strange think about how young and vulnerable Spider-Man is underneath his mask. And it's a real moment of lovely insight from both Strange and the author. And it makes me want more, really. I'd like to see Strange go on. I want to read a novel about the Defenders. I want to see Strange band together with the Hulk and Prince Namor and the Silver Surfer and all the other characters as it goes on. So I hope Titan listen to my plea. I really want a book about the Defenders. Nobody remembers the Defenders as fondly as I do. Especially kind of mid-70s Defenders comics. Those were the best times, I think, for Marvel Comics, at least for me anyway. I was about 6 or 7 and obsessed. And that's when I loved Doctor Strange. in things, when he held together this team that didn't want to be held together. I like them more than the Fantastic Four and the Avengers and all the ones that get all the attention. I think the Defenders were the best. I'm going to stop going on about them now. But I hope there'll be a sequel. I hope James Lovegrove does more of this and gets to flex more of that kind of arch comedy, which he would do in later 70s Marvel adaptations, I think, because they were more comic, I think, more comedic. And I hope he gets to explore some of the depths a bit more, some of the more emotional stuff. Anyway, that was Doctor Strange, and now I'm a few chapters into the new Rainbow Roll Slow Dance, which is pleasantly ordinary to start with. This kind of 30-something people meeting up at a wedding in a small town, and the couple who were never really a couple at school meeting up again, and you know something's going to happen. Straight romance, you know, which, as I've said before, it always amazes me that Rainbow Rowell, because she's written some queer characters, gay characters in things, comes under that rainbow bracket, but her books are very straight. This really reminds me, actually, of my favourite Anne Tyler, when she was writing about people in their 30s, kind of Anne Tyler novels of the 70s. It feels like a similar kind of vibe. I can't believe I'm using that term. It's what they all say, isn't it? Vibe. Anyway, I'll see how it goes, and of course I'll let you know. Right, these are my books of the week so far, and I'm enjoying them. I hope you're enjoying yours, and socks are settled down now. We're going to have our coffee and our pain au chocolat and get back to work, and we'll see you again soon in the next episode. Goodbye.